Hello everybody! So, I got a lot of feedback on my turret whip video, which I must say I'm incredibly thankful for. I'm really glad that there were those of you out there willing to go out of your way to leave a comment. It really did make an impact and help me learn on how to improve as an engineer player. But I'm not here to make this video just because you guys left some good comments. After reading all you guys said, I realized that there was a bit more that I could talk about and some stuff that I'd glossed over. Now, this isn't going to be the type of video where I'm working to defend my opinions, I just wanted to elaborate on some stuff that I kind of glossed over. My opinions haven't really changed all that much since the last video, but I felt like there was more I could talk about here. The first thing I wanted to do is to make something clear. I do not hate turret whip. I think turret whip is okay. I think it's pretty decent. The main point of my video was to talk about how it could be better. I think that there are some improvements that could be made to turret whip, and I think that it's not good enough. I just really wanted to make that point clear because my thumbnail and some of the other stuff around the video kind of makes it look like I'm trying to trash talk turret whip, but I'm really not. I do like it. Anyways, with that clarification out of the way, let's dive into the main topic for this video. A major recurring theme in the comments that I got was talking about AoE. My biggest regret with my turret whip video is that I did not discuss this enough. I did briefly mention it, but I don't think I went into nearly enough detail. Turret whip does in fact deal AoE damage. The overloaded shot creates an explosion with a 1.5 meter radius on impact. This is an important factor to consider when you're choosing turret whip, but personally I don't really think it's enough. Now I don't want you to get me wrong, AoE in any form is nothing to scoff at. There may be a couple dwarves out there that would kill for some AoE damage like this. But turret whip's AoE is only slightly bigger than the AoE on the gunner's autocannon. Now this AoE isn't terrible or anything, but you're only really going to be hitting 4 bugs at a time at most, and the gunner's autocannon doesn't have the nasty cooldown that turret whip does. But that's something that we'll get to a bit later. Let's take a step back and look at Engineer's secondaries. Engineer has the 2 best guns in the game when it comes to dealing AoE damage. Because of this, I feel like turret whip's AoE damage is a bit redundant. You already have access to some of the best AoE damage in the game. I don't know why you would need more AoE that isn't as good. The reason why it isn't as good is the previously mentioned cooldown. I glossed over it last time, but the cooldown is definitely one of the things that's currently holding turret whip back. I could certainly understand a cooldown if turret whip had a larger AoE or more of an impact, but as it is right now, it just doesn't do enough to justify this long cooldown. The reload time for the Engineer's grenade launcher is shorter than turret whip's cooldown time. That's a weapon that can kill more bugs and deal more overall damage, and it can do it faster. Sure, it may not have as much ammo, but considering how many bugs it can kill in a single shot, I think that more than makes up for it. Another point that I saw people bringing up was range. This is a point that I will absolutely hand over to you guys. When combined with Hawkeye, turret whip lets you cover way more ground than you normally could. I will say though that the Warthog has way more range than you would expect. Now I'm a little nervous to say this because I don't want to bring the nerfs down upon us, but the Warthog can shoot further than it has any right to. Now just to be clear, this doesn't really undermine turret whip when it comes to range. Factor in the AoE damage turret whip does, and it makes this really useful. Being able to do AoE, no matter how small the explosion radius is, at a long distance is very useful. This is also really helpful against Mactera swarms. One more thing I wanted to talk about was how I approached my first video. I really leaned into this more mathematical lens to view turret whip through, and I feel like it slowed down the video in some ways. I still stand by my math, but I feel like this held back my video in some ways. Looking at everything through statistics really doesn't let you see it through a gameplay perspective. I feel like I could have used some better footage to make my case stronger. That's something that I'm trying to improve on in this video, although this video is shorter so you only have a couple seconds of footage to work with when it comes to each point I make. I hope it's enough to get the point across though. In conclusion, I think that my main problem with turret whip is the ends, not the means. Although I still think it uses too much ammo. But the heart of the problem is that despite the cool gameplay, turret whip is trying to do something that Engineer can already do well. I talked about this a lot already, but I think it bears repeating. The 2 main options I think turret whip has going forward is to either improve on what it does already, or to shift its goal. If it wants to compete with Engineer's other AoE options, then it's going to need some buffs. On the other hand, if it wants to be its own thing, it's going to need some reworking to help it stand out from the crowd. And I think that's about all I have to say on Turret Whip. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I hope this doesn't sound like I'm being too defensive. I just wanted to clarify some things and address some of the points that you guys raised. As always, you can leave some comments down below and let me know what you think. Special thanks to Dank Shine and Shift Tappin on Reddit for giving me some pointers on how to improve my Turret Whip game. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content because I got more on the way. Catch you guys next time.
That's one for the books. Retrieving escape pod.